Hi everyone, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to share with you some very simple dimension that I added to this card, and this is made with Crackerbox Suzy stamps. So I am using stamps from their new release. I'm using my favorite, which is the large sunflower, and then a happy birthday, and then a larger birthday sentiment that both have the same font and go together. Now, as usual, all the supplies I'm using will be listed down in the description box below. So I'm starting off with the large sunflower, and I'm using my MISTI to do the stamping since this is such a large flower. And with your MISTI, whenever you use red rubber stamps that are cling mounted with the foam, all you need to do is pop out that mouse pad or the piece of foam in there, and then they're ready to go. They should cling right to the lid of your MISTI. Just make sure you give them a good press. Now I am stamping this onto plain white cardstock, and I am using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and that is going to allow me to color with alcohol markers. So you can color these images any way you want to with any medium you want to, but you just want to make sure that you use a black ink that's going to play nicely with whatever coloring medium you want to use. So I stamped this twice. One, I'm only going to use the bottom portion of the stamp, so the leaves. The other, I'm only going to use and color the top portion or the flower of this stamp. So it's really easy to separate this stamp up into two different areas. So for my coloring, I am using a brand new to me marker. I will have a review coming this week or early next on these markers. These are the Parku art markers. Um, I'll just let you watch the coloring now. I'm not going to give you my opinion on them quite yet because I do have a lot to say about these. A little bit surprised at how they work and the price of them as well. So I am going to go ahead and very quickly color in my sunflower here. I'm using a few different colors. I started off with my darkest and I'm working towards my lightest. So my darkest color I put towards the centermost of the flower, and then as I work my way out towards the very edge of those flower leaves, I'm going to go ahead and go to the lightest color. Pretty simple coloring here. And I used three different yellows. One was kind of an orangey yellow, and then I moved to a very light yellow. Then I'm going to go ahead and color in the center of this flower, and I'm using different browns. So a lot of times when I'm coloring in centers of flowers, I like to go in and add my own little dots of texture, but because red rubber stamps are so detailed, this already has those little bits of specks in the center of the flower, so I don't need to do any shading or anything. All I needed to do was add my three colors of markers. I went darkest towards the center, lighter towards the leaves, and that was that. Super simple. Now on my second image, I'm going to go ahead and just color in the leaves. For this, I'm going with darker greens, and I am just using three different colors here. So for this, I'm going dark towards the top of the flower and also down where that leaf kind of overlaps. And then I'm also going darker towards the veins of the leaves, and then lighter as I move towards the edges of the leaves themselves. Now, once these are all colored in, I am going to go ahead and start to fussy cut these. Now, as I show you my fussy cutting, I'm not going to show you all of it. I do want to give you a few different tips on how to make this go easier on you. The first is one I always give every time I'm fussy cutting in a video, and that is turn your paper, not your scissors. That's going to give you the best result and go the easiest on you and your wrist as well. Another thing is cut off any of that excess paper that is around the edges. All that's going to do is get in your way. When you have a smaller area to work with and cut around, it goes a lot easier. So you'll see me a lot of times cut off big hunks of paper. That's because it just makes it go so much smoother. Use a really good sharp pair of scissors too. There's not any right or wrong pair of scissors. Some people like spring-loaded scissors. Some people like small, sharp, pointy scissors. It really is up to you and what works best. And the best way you're going to figure that out is just to try them. So finally, the last thing I'm going to do after my images are fussy cut is go around all the edges that I did cut with a black marker. So I am using a water-based marker here so it doesn't seep too much in towards the edge of those leaves. And I am just using a Memento Tuxedo Black marker. So once I have all of that done, it's time to go ahead and put everything back together. I am putting my flower back together onto a piece of cardstock that I added a little bit of ink blending to, blue ink blending for a sky look. You could add some clouds if you wanted to as well. I just left mine nice and plain. For that, I did use Mint to Be ink and also my Amazon makeup blending brushes. So for the leaves of the flower, I am gluing them directly onto that piece of cardstock with liquid adhesive. Then for the flower, I added foam dimensional adhesive, and that I'm going to put directly in place and pop that up. That's going to give this three-dimensional look to the flower and just make it a little bit more realistic and add a little bit more interest to this very, very simple card. This is one of my favorite things to do with flower images, is just to cut them apart and layer them up like this. You could even go as far as to make a third image and just color in the center of the flower. Go ahead and just cut out the center of the flower and then pop that right in the center and add a third layer as well. It really is up to you how much detail you want to go into. Now for the sentiment on the front of this card, I am going with the larger, longer sentiment. So Crackerbox and Suzy Stamps did quite a few new releases last month, and they released a lot of birthday sentiments that had the birthday sentiment themselves, and then also a longer sentiment that matched. So you could mix and match for the front and the inside of your card. I'm switching it back and forth right now. I am going to go ahead and put what normally would be on the inside of the card on the outside, just because it fit better. And then I'll stamp just the plain happy birthday on the inside of my top folding card base that is A2 in size. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble this card. I'm adding a piece of pattern paper. This is from one of my free paper packs that you can go download over on my blog now. I will leave that link down in the description box below. But here's a look at that paper pack. It's the primary paper pack. There's 20 different papers. I used the red kind of gingham check there. Super simple, just printed it off and cut it out. Now on that flower panel, I went ahead and added a black strip of cardstock to the bottom to add a little bit of separation, but it was a little bit plain, so I grabbed out my pinking shears. It has been forever since I have used these, but I absolutely love the funky scissors, the cutting funky scissors, and I still reach for them from time to time. Now, I didn't have the zigzag ones on hand, so I just used my pinking shears, which work just as well. I know you're not supposed to cut paper with them, but you know what? It is what it is. It's what I had, so it's what I grabbed. And I love the way this looks. It adds just that little nice addition, and instead of having that straight line, it looks better having that little bit of texture there. So that finished off the card. I also added a little bit more of that pattern paper that I cut with the pinking shears along with some black cardstock to the inside as well to finish it off. But there you have it, a simple birthday card with just the tiniest bit of dimension. Still goes through the mail very nicely. But that is going to do it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget all the information that's going to be down in the description box below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, you can do that now. Thanks for watching and happy crafting, everyone.